Welcome to Walpole Five-0. I'm Chief John Carmichael. Today is November 8th, 2017. I want to thank everybody for joining me today on Walpole Five-0. It's been 1 year since we started the first presentation of Walpole Five-0, and I want to thank Jeff Fountain from Walpole Cable, as well as Luke Dent, who's behind the camera today, and Pete Jabali, the camera guys that have filmed Walpole Five-0 over the last year. It's been quite a pleasure, and when we first started this, what we wanted to do was just kind of keep Walpole informed as to what was going on, especially public safety-wise, make you aware, and inform you of the things that might be happening in your neighborhood as far as crime, but also community policing and other events that the police department does here in Walpole. So thank you very much to Walpole Cable and to the community of Walpole. Hopefully we'll keep these going and keep you updated as to what's going on. So, and thank you, Luke. So getting into the issues this past week, I want to mention we found some money in Walpole Center about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's a significant amount of cash currency that was located. Obviously there's a specific area where this was and a specific amount. We've been trying to find out and track down who may have lost this money. So if it is you, or if you know somebody who may have lost a significant amount of cash in Walpole Center over the past few weeks, would love it if you can contact Walpole Police Detectives, and maybe we can get this money back to that person, because I'm sure it's very important to them. Football. I want to mention this past weekend, all of the Walpole youth football teams were knocked out of the tournaments. Everybody did make it in. They made it into the first playoff seed, but we unfortunately none of the Walpole teams prevailed. I wish my C team, the team that I coach with, the coaches and the kids, all the best in the future. We last year we won the Super Bowl and with them won the state championship, and it was tough loss this year going into the first round of the playoffs and losing to Newton. So wish the kids all the best in the future, and one of the things we love to do here. A lot of the guys, as I've mentioned before here in the department, coached all different sports, as well as I know the deputy chief, he's the head coach, Deputy Chief McKenzie of the C team. So we appreciate all that and look forward to next year. That's all we can do, right? So want to mention positive tickets. There were some girls who assisted with the Apple of My Eye dance. This was held at OPR, Old Post Road School, last week. And, part of the positive ticket program is we want to catch kids doing things right and doing things positive in the community. I happened to be there at that dance with my own daughter, and I saw these girls, and they were working so hard for probably the whole 2 or 3 hours of this dance. Serving food, working with the photo booth, helping out with music, helping out with the setup, helping out with the cleanup. I mean, they really worked very hard, and I was very impressed by that. So I reached out with the PAC down there at OPR, and we were able to track the girls down at the high school. And I just want to recognize Gabby, Annie, Amanda, Grace, and 2 Katies who were involved with that. We went up to the high school, tracked them down, and gave them positive tickets and movie passes to Showcase Cinemas. Those movie passes, by the way, were provided by Southridge Nursery, and we appreciate them. Without the sponsors for that program, we wouldn't be able to do it, so we're very grateful. But great job, girls. Love to see that, and glad I caught you doing things right. STUPAC, Student Police Advisory Council. This will be our 3rd year we're running this program. These are high school students, freshmen up to senior, who want to get involved with the police department, sit down and talk about issues and things that affect them and that impact their age groups. This is the 3rd year that we've had very successful 1st and 2nd year with this program. And really what it is, it's designed for us to break down barriers, develop a partnership with our youth between the police and the kids in the community. Build mutual trust and respect, and and work on the issues again that affect them, and ways that we can resolve any differences or resolve any way the police department can help them with certain issues. So it's been very successful. We look forward to doing it again this year. I just did a quick video up at the high school that's going to be played at the beginning of school in the morning. And hopefully, I think we have 10 kids signed up right now, and we hope to get that up in the next couple of weeks. I think the 25th is the last day that we can take the applications, which can be picked up in the office at the high school. Want to mention the Texas shooting, the Sutherland Springs tragedy. Our condolences to the victims, the families, that community as a whole. It's very important, I think, for us to always remember that these are very small communities where this happened. This is a town with less than 400 people. And you know, when you also think of tragedies such as Newtown, Connecticut, and Sandy Hook, it reminds us that these things can happen anywhere. And in this case, in Sutherland Springs, it was 28 people killed and 20 more that were injured, ranging from the ages of 5 to 72. And just an absolute tragedy. Here with the Walpole Police Department, we train on this type of situation in our schools and in community buildings, in private buildings and that type of thing, in the god-awful event anything like this ever occurred. So we have to prepare ourselves for it, regardless of where these things happen. This was one of the deadliest years. I think it was actually the deadliest year for active shooters in the United States. 112 people, I think, have been killed this year alone. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable to see what's going on. But, you know, it's difficult because a lot of these times these shooters don't have a known profile, even though a lot of times there's red flags that pop up. And in this case, there was red flags that occurred during this individual's time in the military, and issues with disciplinary matters and court-martial and that kind of thing. But it's very important as a police department, as a community, identifying certain red flags and then giving the resources and the intervention to deal with these things. We have a very good community crisis intervention team. Emotionally disturbed person calls are up significantly, and we're always trying to deal with those things as a police department, as a community. But training and preparedness is always essential in these types of situations, and I'm letting the community know that the Walpole Police Department is very well trained in this, and we practice it. And you know, as I said, it's the last thing you ever want to happen, but if something did happen, we would be prepared to deal with it. So going back, October 31st was a fatal overdose at a motel in Walpole. Report of a man down. Units responded along with the fire department. The officers were able to gain access to the room. However, this person was found deceased. Medical examiner and CPAC from the district attorney's office were notified and responded as well. Our condolences go out to this family. These situations are getting very difficult. I think this is our 32nd overdose of the year. We've had 5 fatalities. Administered Narcan numerous times. I think we're up around 10 times. But you know, even going into these scenes now, our officers have to take all these different precautions because the possibility of being exposed to fentanyl, they have to suit up in personal protection equipment before they just go running in there and then be exposed to this drug. So it's a very unfortunate situation. We're still seeing the overdoses in our region, and you know, there is a slight turn that it's starting to come down, but we're going to have to pay close attention to that. November 1st, suspicious activity. Report of a male. They were walking around the area of Common Street wearing a ski mask. The area was checked and gone on arrival. I'm glad this wasn't the night before, because I walked around my neighborhood in a Jason outfit with a hockey mask on. But you know, I just had kids coming up saying, "Hi, Mr. Carmichael." They apparently they ID'd me pretty quick. I don't know how they knew it was me, but anyways, that wasn't me. But it was an individual wearing a ski mask, and we were not able to locate that person on Common Street. Erratic operator. Erratic operator was called in. That individual was located and stopped in the area of Stone Street, and the individual checked out okay. I put that in there just because, you know, a lot of times I mention the OUIs. We stop an erratic operator in their OUI. Sometimes it's just people that don't drive very well, and that was the case here. So the officers checked them out. They were okay, and everything turned out fine. Suspicious person, report of someone looking in windows. This was in the area of Neponset View Terrace. That individual was gone on arrival. Easy area for us to set up a perimeter, which we did, but we were not able to locate that person. There has been, breaking and enterings in that area in the past, not recently, but as a result, we did get up there quickly and were not able to locate anybody. November 2nd, larceny. This was a past larceny that was reported at a Route 1 store. Employee's coat was stolen from the facility, and as a result of the coat being stolen, they had their car keys in the car, so when they went out to the parking lot to check on the car, they found out that the motor vehicle had been entered and their car was cleaned out, and so there was a significant amount of property that was taken from the vehicle. This case is currently under investigation by Detective Benner. A crash, a deer was struck at the League School, handled by Patrolman Wilmot. The issue with the deer, I mentioned this last week too, is this is the year when you might start seeing them move around, and they're going to be searching for food, so the deer will be running out into the roadways and cause a traffic issue and a hazard, so just be careful of that this upcoming fall and winter. A walkaway, mostly disturbed person walked away from Norwood Hospital, believed to be coming back towards the Walpole area. We did check the area with negative results. B&E, an individual reported that their shed was, which was located in East Walpole, was broken into, and there is a litany, a long list of items that were stolen from that location, and there is a detective that is following up on this case as well. Fire, the shift responded to Pine Hill Drive for a structure fire. Turns out that it was the dishwasher that caught fire and filled the house with smoke. Almost simultaneous calls. There was another fire reported in the area of Sector 3, and this one turned out to be a boiler which was having some issues, and that ended up filling the house with smoke as well. So good job by the fire department getting up there and dealing with those issues, and the officers for assisting them at those scenes. Emotionally disturbed person call reported to the area. This was pretty much a very significant call. Individual not from Walpole, but they left a note at their home and their primary address in another community, having suicidal ideation. That we were able to do some investigative techniques and kind of narrow down where this individual could be. Of course, of all places, it had to be Adams Farm, which is a significantly large area, a wooded area, fields and power lines run through that area. There's a gun range that's also up that way, which we did have to call on a ceasefire, so in the event that that person walked through there. So it was later in the afternoon. It actually got dark as we were looking and searching for this individual. We located their vehicle, and officers started to basically infiltrate all of the fields and the paths up there. We had the ATV up there, as well as the air wing from the state police. We had 2 canine officers up there with canine from Metro, and we also had assistance from Dover PD and Westwood PD. Obviously, this we wanted to find this person quickly because of their status, and it turns out that there was a Dover and Westwood officer on the high tension lines. We were able to locate that individual and successfully get them back to the ambulance and get them to a hospital so that they could be evaluated. But great teamwork with the state police, Westwood PD, Walpole, and Dover PD, and appreciate their assistance for a difficult situation. So great job all around on that. Community policing, Officer Henneberry, our newest officer, learning the Walpole community policing way, gave a group of Boy Scouts a tour of our police station, and great job on that. He's still in his field training officer program, so the officers are doing a great job of helping Officer Henneberry with how we do community policing around here. Verbal argument, officers responded to Route 1. There was 2 individuals that were apparently fighting up there. We went up, we discovered that it was only a verbal argument, and peace was restored. Threats, this is on November 4th. Individuals in the lobby reported that they were getting threatening text messages from an acquaintance. These text messages continued on, and they included references to burning the victim's home down. And as a result, they filed and received an emergency order to keep that person away. And we were able to also seek and get a temporary arrest warrant for the suspect, which we still have not arrested at this point, but that there is an active warrant in the system. The problem with threats, if you threaten somebody via text message, it's not an arrestable offense where the police can just go and make an arrest unless a certain, but if it meets certain criteria, we are able to seek assistance from the clerk magistrate, and because this was after court hours, and seek an arrest warrant, which we did. So that was broadcast to area towns, and we have not been able to locate that person yet. An arrest, Officer Haber arrested an individual on an outstanding default warrant. The warrant was a result of fines that were not paid. So basically what happened here is the individual was bailed out, but that was for the $40 that goes to the bail commissioner, as well as the amount that was owed to the court or to whoever this money was owed to. So that money has now been paid, and that will help recall that individual's warrant. Summons, Officer Haber conducted a motor vehicle stop. There was a criminal complaint application or summons for a revoked registration. A bonfire, officers responded to Sector 2. We got a call that there was a loud party down there and a bonfire going in the backyard. The party was a non-issue when they got there. Basically, it was just like a noise complaint, and they were asked to quiet down for the evening, and they did. An arrest, this is a follow-up to an investigation conducted by Officer Toland, Detective Toland. He did a great investigation. He was able to identify somebody in an embezzling case that was tied into a local company. There was over $20,000 that was stolen by various methods from this company, and as a result, Detective Toland was able to make an arrest on this. So good job on that. November 5th, there was a disturbance. This was up in Sector 3, which is West Walpole. There was a 25-year-old Framingham man who was arrested for disturbing the peace and threatening to commit a crime. As I mentioned before, that other call was also for a threat, which I said we couldn't arrest. But in this case, there was also a disturbance of the peace because it was causing a problem in the neighborhood. So therefore, you have a breach of the peace now associated with the other crime. And therefore, the officers were able to make an arrest. I will say that using their discretion upon their first response, they went up there. They had restored peace at the scene. They left the scene, and as they were clearing, 2 more calls came in that there was another disturbance. So they literally just walked back to the house, found the second disturbance, found out that this individual was threatening the victim with bodily injury, and as a result, they joined us here on 972 Main Street for the rest of the night. Mostly disturbed persons, Section 12 from Longview. Officer Bethany conducted this this call. Second emotionally disturbed person call in the area of Main Street, both for evaluations and voluntarily transported. I mentioned them because, again, we do have a significant increase in EDPs or emotionally disturbed person calls, suicidal ideation calls such as that. And they are significant, and again, something the department works on very hard to, again, provide resources and help prevent future issues and that type of thing. And mostly that's done through our community crisis intervention team, where we try and divert the issue, especially if there's a criminal issue involved with it. We try and divert that away from the court system and try and deal with it by using appropriate resources. Trespassing, dirt bikes on Renmar Road. Officer Connor located them, advised them of our bylaws, and removed them from the area. SWAT, a Metro call-out. Officer Lagoa and Officer Crown on a Metro call-out. This one went down to Plymouth. I don't have all the details on that, but as you know, and as I've mentioned before, we have officers that are assigned to Metro-LEC, which is the Metro Law Enforcement Council, and we have officers assigned to SWAT, search and rescue, motorcycles, investigations, different things that where we need to tap into other resources here in Walpole or in Norfolk County in our area, then we have access to those resources. And Officer Lagoa and Officer Crown are two of our SWAT officers who helped out with that case. A warrant arrest, Officer Slavin responded to Sector 2. There was a warrant arrest. This was for a probation violation or failure to comply with alcohol testing. And as a result, probation called the Walpole Police Department, issued the warrant, and then we went down and made the arrest for probation. Disturbance, this was in the area of Main Street. It was a disturbance between two individuals. Upon arrival, the officers found out that it was a verbal dispute, and they were able to somewhat restore peace and then send the parties on their way afterwards. As a result, one of the individuals involved with the situation did not have insurance on their motor vehicle, so that it kind of extended the call. They were revoked for insurance, and the officers had to make sure that that person didn't drive that vehicle and were able to go get insurance for that. I think they gave them a written warning for it as well. Breaking and entering, this was unfounded, but it was in the area of Sector 3 as well, which is West Walpole. It was a broken window at a residence. Detective Griffin responded. The officers felt that it was likely that this was not a break, and it was more likely caused by just damage, unknown how it happened, but that there was some damage that occurred. Child in need of services, Officer Lagoa, he responded to Route 1 in the area of Merchants Drive. There was a young child that was walking on Route 1. We found out that there was a 12-year-old and his brother were walking on Route 1. They had missed the bus, and now we're trying to get over to school. So as a result, Officer Lagoa went over there, and he was able to pick the boys up and escort them to school safely. Very difficult situation there because you have, in the area of the preserve and trying to get to Boyden School, it's, you have Route 1 obviously in the middle. So I thank Officer Lagoa for getting the boys to school safely on that. Community policing, Officer Connor attended a daycare with School Resource Officer Hart, and they read a book to the children, and we always appreciate the guys doing that, and I think the kids do too. So hopefully it was a good book. Check fraud, individual victim came into the station reporting check fraud. The investigation is ongoing. Officer Lagoa will be forthcoming with a report and conclusion to his investigation on this. Essentially, these are people writing bad checks or larceny by check, which means that it's not insufficient funds. So sometimes, you know, if somebody has an open account and they're writing checks in that open account, but there's just not enough money in the account to take care of it, that's a different story. That's insufficient funds. But it becomes larceny when that account becomes closed, no longer being used, and the person obviously still has a checkbook, and they're writing checks based on an account that's already closed, and that could be deemed as check fraud or larceny by check if they do receive anything for using that amount. So that's it for today, November 8th, 2017. That was 1 year ago today. I think November 8th, 2016, when we started Walpole Five-0. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll continue to keep Walpole informed through this program. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.